Hello, everyone. I'm Paris Fox, and I'd like to welcome you to 12 O'Clock High, a podcast on business leadership with Tom Fox, hosted by Richard Lummis.
Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox, and I'd like to welcome you to 12 O'Clock High, a podcast on business leadership. Richard Lummis is on assignment this week, so I'm going to be taking this effort solo. One of the things about business leadership is how do you actually measure and determine whether leaders are effectively engaging in the appropriate conduct to have companies do business ethically and with their values. This is one of the things the Department of Justice has recently talked about in a document entitled Evaluation of Corporate Compliance Programs. And they raise the questions as follows. Have senior leaders, through their words and actions, encouraged or discouraged this type of misconduct in question? What concrete actions have senior management and senior leadership taken to demonstrate the company's leadership in doing business ethically and with the values of the company? How does the company monitor its senior leadership's ethical behavior? And has senior leadership modeled proper ethical behavior to subordinates? I thought it would be a good way to explore not only what the requirements of ethical behavior and ethical leadership are, really talk about it from the perspective of how the government might consider that issue if you ever get in trouble and need to demonstrate to the government that you are really an ethically based company. It's a very interesting exploration of how the government tends to look at these things. 12 O'Clock High, podcast on business leadership, is a part of the Compliance Podcast Network. Leadership from the top. Under the evaluation of corporate compliance programs, prong 2, it states, senior and middle management, conduct at the top. How have senior management, through their words and actions, encouraged or discouraged the type of conduct in question? What concrete actions have they taken to demonstrate leadership in the company's compliance and remediation efforts? How does the company monitor its senior leadership's behavior? How has the senior leadership modeled proper behavior to its subordinates? This requirement is more than simply the ubiquitous tone at the top, as here the Justice Department wants to see a company's senior leadership actually doing compliance. How can senior management operationalize compliance programs going forward? One of the best ways that I have seen are are critical in establishing an effective compliance program right from the top. So what are some of the things that senior leadership can engage in? Well, the guiding values of the company must make sense and be clearly communicated. 2, the company's leader must be personally committed and willing to take action on those values. 3, a company's systems and structures must support its guiding principles. 4, a company's values must be integrated into the normal channels of management decision-making and reflected in the company's critical decisions. 5, management must be empowered to make ethically sound decisions on a day-to-day basis. David Lawyer, in his most excellent book, Frequently Asked Questions in Anti-Bribery and Anti-Corruption, boiled it down to the following. Whatever the size, structure, or market of a commercial organization, top-level management's commitment to bribery prevention is likely to include the communication of anti-bribery, of the organization's anti-bribery stance, and appropriate degree of involvement in developing bribery prevention procedures. What are some of the things that you could do as a CEO to be an ambassador of compliance? Well, you can reject the do as I say, not as I do mentality. Remember, it's not just the talk, but it's the walk of compliance. Oversee the creation of a written statement of zero tolerance towards bribery and corruption. Appoint and fully resource with money and headcount a chief compliance officer. Oversee the development of a code of conduct and written compliance programs implementing that code. Ensure there are compliance metrics on all key business reports. Provide leadership to middle managers to facilitate the filtering of the zero tolerance message down throughout the organization. Not only have a whistleblowing, reporting, or speak up channel, but celebrate it. Keep talking about doing the right thing. And make sure you have your CCO with access to both yourself, the CEO, and the board of directors. Coming at it from another angle, Martin Begelman has put together a chapter beginning with the statement that the road to compliance starts at the top. In this chapter, he cited to a list that Joe Murphy had said a CEO could engage in to demonstrate and set the requisite tone from the captain's chair of any business. So what are some of the things a CEO can do? What are some of the actions a CEO can engage in? And what's some CEO conduct we can see? Well, how about keeping a copy of the company's code of conduct on your desk and using it? Make sure your compliance department has the authority, influence, and budget within the company, and that the CCO reports directly to the board. Hold them accountable at senior executive meetings. Have each participant report on what they've done to further the compliance function in their business unit. Have both sanctions for violations of company compliance policies and incentives for doing business in an ethical manner. Turn down an expensive trip or dinner offered by a vendor. Pass on a gift you may have received. Turn down a transaction based upon ethical considerations. Be seen doing so. Celebrate that. Be seen as a student in intra-company compliance training. Take a day or two course or attend a compliance conference outside your organization. Go to the SCCE, CEI. Go to Compliance Week. Go to Ethisphere's most ethical companies annual conference in New York City. Award compliance. You should recognize outstanding compliance efforts within your company with announcements and awards. On your board, recruit a nationally known compliance expert to sit on your company's board and chair the compliance committee. Have an independent review done of your company's compliance programs and report the results to the board. On your vendors who come into the relationship with your company in the supply chain, mandate that they embrace compliance and ethics as a business model. If not, pass on doing business with them. Talk to others in your industry and your peers about how to improve your company's compliance efforts. Many companies struggle with the type of metric that can be used for upper management regarding leadership in compliance and communication of the company values. One technique might be to require a CEO to post company-wide communications, emails or others, once a quarter on a compliance-related topic. The CEO's direct reports would then be required to cascade those down as they receive them. This cascading would be done down as far as practicable. Reminders for each can be set for each communication, so all personnel know when it's time to send the message out. If these communications are made, certainly this metric has been made. But you can also have your CEO do podcasts like the one you're listening to here. You can have them do video statements. You can have them do YouTube presentations. Senior leadership needs to model compliance. Nothing is going to impact employees more than having senior leadership involved. So what are today's 3 key takeaways? Well, number 1, senior management must actually do compliance. You must walk the walk, not simply talk the talk. Under the evaluation of corporate compliance programs, senior management must actually engage in conduct which supports compliance. 2, use your CEO to talk about current events and how those ethical failures are to be learned for your organization. The CEO at CenterPoint Energy used the Wells Fargo and Volkswagen scandals to talk about compliance in an energy service organization, completely different industries, yet he used these 2 scandals to reemphasize CenterPoint's commitment to doing business ethically and in compliance. And finally, your CEO should be your compliance ambassador throughout the organization. This is Tom Fox. Thank you very much for joining me.
This is Paris Fox again. We hope you enjoyed this episode of 12 O'Clock High, a podcast on business leadership with Tom Fox. If you enjoyed the show, please go to iTunes and rate the podcast. Thank you for listening.